Sukh. We have a notice that we are officially live on Facebook.
Uh-oh.
Hi, everybody. If you're watching and tuning into the Nonprofit Partnerships Facebook page, thank you again for joining us. We are very happy that you're with us. I'm Carolina Quesada with the Nonprofit Partnership, and I'm welcoming you to yet another segment of Our Stories, Our Time. In this series, we interview nonprofit leaders to understand how organizations are navigating through the challenges of these current times. And, today we are continuing with a summer series we launched some weeks ago. And while we've been interviewing organizations that are primarily focused on youth-based programming and recreational and outdoor activities, but we really wanted to highlight an organization. I'm sure you're all going to be really excited to learn more about what the Rise Up Project is doing. But there's a lot of transitions happening, not just in the nonprofit sector, but in all sectors. And by transitions, we mean looking for other jobs, other opportunities. So we're going to get a chance and talk a little bit more about that from the perspective of Rise Up Project. But before I introduce our special guest, the Nonprofit Partnership wishes to thank the Port of Long Beach for their generous support of our series. And again, if you're watching us live on Facebook, welcome. Totally invite you to engage with us, ask questions in the comment box, say hello to our guest, Sukh, please make it a point to engage with us today. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Sukh Chugh, founder and director of Rise Up Project. Sukh, it's so great to have you here. And I just want to say that, you and I have also known each other for a long time.
We've known each other for a long time.
So it's so awesome to have you here. Thank you again for agreeing to join us today.
Thank you for the invite. I'm so excited to be reconnected with you and hear about all the great things you're doing, and excited to talk about the Rise Up Project as well. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. So with that, why don't we share with people what Rise Up Project is all about? Tell us more about the origins of how you got started, and really, what do you do?
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's a coaching program to help people enter into the workforce or advance in the workforce. What we're finding is that not everyone has had the same kind of opportunities or the same kind of coaching to help people with their careers. That's essentially it in a nutshell. We help people enter or advance in the workforce. The way it started about a year ago, especially under the backdrop of COVID and layoffs and a lot of discussion around equity in the country, we came to that realization that not everyone has had the same opportunities for whatever reason. And we put together a program to balance the scales, help people, again, enter or advance into the workforce. So what we do, all volunteer run, we find coaches that have some professional experience, some professional background. And these coaches are volunteers. We host a 6-week boot camp where we help people with their resumes, with interviewing skills, make sure they've got a LinkedIn profile, cover letters, how to do a job search. And we even go through things like Microsoft Office. Some people need some support on Office Excel or Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint. 6-week boot camp, really just designed to help people with the skills they need to get that job that they're looking for, or to move up in the workforce wherever they're at.
Absolutely. And it sounds like it's pretty intense. And in that time frame, I'm sure there are different kinds of classes and workshops, and getting in deeper with the how to do this, how to go about doing this. But I'd like to go back to something you mentioned earlier, that Rise Up Project was in many ways a result of, all the strife that we were seeing when the pandemic broke out. And we know that a lot of people lost their jobs. We heard, through various interviews that we did with different nonprofits that many of them obviously had to close their doors down. They didn't know what they were going to do with staff. A lot of organizations decided to furlough their own staff. So again, I think we started to see obviously a need to somehow address the situation. People were losing their jobs. And so what was it for you that drove you to really launch this? Was it a particular phone call or a series of calls you were having with colleagues in your field?
Yeah.
Was it some request for help? What was that thing that really launched it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. When with COVID, a lot of layoffs hit, as you mentioned, a lot of people were furloughed, and layoffs don't impact everyone equally. Someone that's got a lot of background, that got a lot of professional experience, maybe they've had a lot of coaching and they've had a lot of support over the years, they get laid off and they immediately know what to do. They've already got a network they can tap into, they can start making phone calls, they know where to go, they know how to apply for jobs, they've got a good looking resume. Someone who hasn't had those opportunities, like maybe they're a little lower on the socioeconomic scale, or maybe they're a veteran, or maybe they've been incarcerated for whatever reason, they don't have the same opportunities as other folks. A layoff is gonna be devastating to them. It's gonna be a lot more stressful, and it's gonna take a lot longer for them to actually find that next job. So this all started to hit about a year ago, and as you remember, the country was kind of hit on two different elements. One was COVID, layoffs, and the other was there was kind of a reckoning that we were going through as a country around this concept of equity. Depending on your background, maybe the color of your skin, or do you have the same opportunities as everyone else? Whatever the case is, our program doesn't really ask people to validate their income, their amount of income. We don't ask those questions about, we don't validate across color of skin or anything like that. It's an open program. So if you're looking for that type of coaching, we will provide it to whoever feels they need it. So
That's excellent.
about a year ago, I think I was driving through Atlanta, Georgia with a friend of mine, and we were just looking at the condition of some of the communities, how devastated they were. And we're like, hey, in order to help these communities, it's one thing to make a donation. It's one thing to attend a protest, and all those things are very valuable. But it's another thing to actually help the people find income. Because if we help them find work, then they are a little bit more sustainable themselves. They feel a little bit more validated, if you will, feel a little bit more confident. And we feel like that's the best gift that we can give. I've got a lot of years of experience in the professional world. I run a staffing company. So we look at resumes all the time. We conduct interviews all the time. So we thought, hey, if we have these skills to, help our clients find the right people, can we also use those same skills to help people find work and find opportunities?
Thank you. I think that, just kind of sharing and learning a little bit more about how this really came to be, where this was born from someplace, and I think you're bringing up an issue that is so critical for us to talk about when we do talk about, the effects of the pandemic and what we're living through. And that is that, if anything, obviously the pandemic is highlighting that we have some really, really serious endemic challenges when it comes to equity, right? In all of its forms. So you're bringing something up that is really important for, I think, us as a society and organizational partners in community doing different kinds of work, to always keep our eye on, right? Is those systems that are there. And sometimes really they're really not equal, right? So people do live through these experiences in a very different way. Now, Sukh, you are not new to nonprofits. As a matter of fact, when you and I first met some time ago, I was a volunteer for an organization that you had also founded some years ago. Tell me about, just personally from your perspective, that spark and that desire to still, mobilize community and to meet the need through this lens that, being a part of a nonprofit organization offers.
Yeah, I would say it really stems from like a thirst for happiness. I think I've examined my own life, and those moments where I feel most at peace and most content, most happy is when I'm giving back in some shape or form. And so the first, nonprofit that I launched, which I know you and I worked together on, Be the Cause, it was really just looking at service very broadly. Let's create different opportunities to serve the community and not only help the people that we want to help, but in a way we also get to experience that connectedness and we get to experience that joy of being of service. And this is really kind of a version 2.0 of that idea, I feel. The opportunity to serve isn't as broad. It's a little bit more targeted towards coaching people on job skills, but it's still all volunteer run. And we have those conversations as a group of volunteers all the time. Like, why are we doing this? Okay, there's the explicit mission of we want to help people find work and we want to help people advance in the workplace. That's kind of like the explicit written mission of the organization. But the kind of the hidden mission, if you will, or like the secret goal is for volunteers to be able to experience that joy of serving one another. And that, I think, even though it may not have like a tangible goal of, oh, we help someone, find a work, I think it kind of changes our community in a way, where people start to look out for one another a little bit more, just helps people be a little bit more kind. Just once you start to experience that joy of helping others, you want to keep doing it. You want to keep going out and helping others in one shape or form. So that's really kind of like the broad theme behind, I think, nonprofits in general and even like volunteer run efforts is, hey, it's not just about helping people. We definitely want to do that. That's the mission. But let's not forget that we're also building a community around this concept of service. And in some way, I know this is kind of a little bit of a debated theme, but really the person you end up helping the most is yourself, because you get to experience that joy of being there for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And showing up authentically as you, right? Giving of yourself in that moment.
Yeah.
Which seems to be, again, I think a really strong theme in a lot of the initiatives that you've launched or you've supported as well. And it's nice to continue to see that really strong, again, commitment to that particular mission through the work in Rise Up project.
Yeah. I think the happiest moments, if we like dissect our lives, are really when we're connected to others. Your happiest moments in your life are probably not tied to you being focused on yourself, doing something for yourself. Of course, that's important too. But if you look back at your life, probably the happiest of your moments are going to be when you're connected to others.
And Sukh, that's a great segue to just sort of this next question or a topic of conversation here, and that is how volunteers come to you. What does that onboarding look like? I'm sure that there are going to be people who are watching this and thinking to themselves, I think I have something I can give back. So give us a sense of how exactly are volunteers giving back, and again, what is that onboarding looking like for this volunteer core that you're working with?
Great question. We've run 17 boot camps so far. So there's 17 of these sessions that we've run, and we've impacted maybe just shy of 100 students. So just less than 100 students have gone through our program, and all of that is, as we've been talking, is run through volunteers. I think over my history, I've learned that I'm really not good at asking people for money, but I'm really good at creating an opportunity that people want to volunteer for. And that's true for the organization that we were a part of, Be the Cause, as well as the Rise Up Project. We have a formal process. We do a lot of our postings on Volunteer Match, but also through social media, we'll reach out and we'll say, hey, we need volunteers. And it may sound like we need coaches, and we do need coaches, but we also have like a team working on social media, a team working on outreach. We've been doing events once a quarter, just like virtual events to keep people inspired and, kind of help with career stuff. So there's a lot of like back end logistics support that we need. We got someone that's supporting the website. They can always use support. So I don't want people to think, oh, you have to have professional experience and you have to be able to coach on resumes in order to be a part of the organization. We're looking for all kinds of people to support us. We do reach out to volunteer match. As I mentioned, I post on my social media from time to time to solicit. If anyone is interested in volunteering, they can go to our website and they can sign up and they'll get tied into one of our onboarding volunteers. So we have one volunteer that's dedicated to onboarding other volunteers. So when anytime a volunteer signs up, there's a conversation with that one volunteer. Her name is Jill. And then she walks them through, hey, here's what our organization does, and here's areas where we need support. And then in that conversation, the new volunteer can decide kind of, where they want to be a good fit. But more than getting the work done, it's really about being part of the community, which is kind of what I come back to, is that you're part of this group of people that wants to support others, and that feels good. I mean, we've had volunteers that, maybe they just attend some meetings from time to time, but we don't always mind, because it's really just about that connection in that community. And actually the community theme runs throughout our program. So even the coaching that we do, it's really like one or two coaches that's maybe, coaching 6 or 7 people, but we look at that as a community, 6, 7 students with 2 coaches. And we want the coaches and the students to stay in touch even after the boot camp is done. So I say this a lot. Our curriculum is really an excuse to build a relationship between the coaches and the students, because it's not so much about the presentations and the content, it's really about the relationship between the coaches and the students. And I also say that our entire program is really just an excuse for the volunteers to have a relationship with other volunteers. So really that's kind of what we're after, is like building this community that's supporting others. So if anyone wants to be a part of it, you don't have to be a coach, just reach out and we'll see where we can fit in.
And some of the things that your volunteers do, for example, if they do have, again, they're trying to find a way to just sort of fit in and give back. Give us an idea again of some of the workshops that students are taking advantage of or participating in. Earlier, you mentioned something specific to really skills building. Can you give us a sense of what that might look like?
Yeah, it's a 6-week boot camp, and we're always kind of experimenting with is 6 weeks the right, time period. We used to be 8 weeks. We're thinking about condensing it. But we go through, kind of virtual meetings, right? Because if you're going to get a job in today's work environment, there's a chance you may have to interact virtually with folks like you and I are now. And not everyone has that skill set. Not everyone has used Zoom before or Teams before. So there's a little element of that, very small component. And then there's resume. You'd be surprised how many people actually do not have resumes, or their resumes are like very, very basic or written. And I don't mean to be degrading, but written poorly. There's some resumes I've seen and they're just written poorly. So there's a chunk of energy focused on building up a person's resume, like how it's worded, what it looks like. We go through all that. And then another big component is interviewing. At the first class, we go through an elevator pitch, like, hey, introduce yourself, over like 30 seconds to a minute. And you'd be surprised how many people fumble through that. Like they've never formally introduced themselves. And that's usually the first question you get asked in an interview is like, tell me a little bit about yourself or introduce yourself. And that's the one thing that you don't want to fumble on. So we spend a lot of time on that elevator pitch, as well as interviewing skills in general, like how to show up for an interview. If you get an asked like this type of question, how should you respond? And really rehearsing those responses so that when you find yourself in an interview, you knock it out of the park. And then there's a little bit on LinkedIn and networking in general, because as we know, the bulk of employment opportunities actually come from networking.
Right.
And so how do you, begin to set up your network? And then we do spend some time on Microsoft Office, like Word and Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. We do a little bit on professional writing. And then the last session we do is actually my favorite session of the entire boot camp. And this is where we do a panel. So we'll invite other professionals, and then the students can ask any question they want, like about negotiation or whatever is on their mind. And then the students actually present back to the coaches what they've learned over the 6 weeks. So some of them will put together a PowerPoint, and I try to attend that session for all of them because it's very impactful, very emotional. I'm almost like moved to tears when I hear about what the students got from the program. One student sang a song, another student like did a poem. And they, a lot of people that attend our program, they haven't really felt supported in that way. But over 6 weeks, you've got these coaches that really have your back and they're really supportive of your career. And then the other students are also supportive of one another. So it just creates this little micro community. And it's just a really powerful moment. So from a volunteering standpoint, if you feel like you're good at reviewing resumes and you're good at conducting interviews, if you have that experience, if you've got a good LinkedIn profile yourself and you want to help others get to that level, you can definitely coach. But as we mentioned, if you want to help us on our social media team, we've got an Instagram, we've got LinkedIn, we've got TikTok. We still have to set up our Facebook page. But if someone wants to help with that, we'd love for someone to make videos around career development, and we can get that up on our TikTok. That would be kind of fun. But then, if someone wants to blog for us, or someone wants to manage some of the logistics, or just do some emails, yeah.
So there are plenty of opportunities to be a part of Rise Up Project. Whether, again, as you're illustrating, it's supporting all the back office, right? Everything that's foundational before you, as you do the work that you're doing. Or, again, if you have that to offer, it's that direct interaction in some of these coaching and workshop spaces. And Sukh, as we're doing this, I'm kind of monitoring, I'm looking over here, I'm monitoring the Facebook page a bit. And I know that our team has posted a link to your website. So for those of you watching live on Facebook, please go to the chat, click on that link. It'll also take you to all the other social media handles that, Sukh was mentioning earlier. But for those who are actually going to watch this on YouTube, or are going to watch it through PadNet or another platform, Sukh, what's the best way to get a hold of you or one of your coordinators, one of your volunteer coordinators? Is there a number or an email?
Yeah, you can just go to our website. Everything is there. You can find our email address there. There's a form you can fill out if you want to volunteer, or if you actually want to sign up for one of the classes. If you feel like you want to go through that, everything's through our website. hello@riseupliftup.com is an email address, kind of a general email address that we have that I also monitor. People can email me if they wish. Sukh@riseupliftup.com. Yeah, so it's the other thing that we would love to get support on. We have we partner with a lot of other nonprofits, because we may not always be connected directly to that population where people are looking for that type of support. So we'll reach out to other nonprofits and partner with them, and then those nonprofits will help spread the word on our program. So sometimes we have, like the Salvation Army is an example, Catholic Charities is another one, where they will spread the word on our program, and a lot of their constituents will participate in our program.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was one thing I wanted to just explore with you a little bit, is what does that collaboration with others look like? And clearly you are working with other organizations to, again, spread the word. What would you like to see in the future as far as collaboration? Is there any kind of initiative that you're thinking you may want to launch, or you may want to explore a little bit more? Give us a sense of what could collaboration look like for Rise Up, with the Rise Up project in the near future.
Yeah, we've explored a lot of different options with our partners. In some cases we already have our boot camp running, and then the nonprofit partner will reach out to their constituents and say, hey, there's this free boot camp on job skills. You'd be interested in participating, and then their folks will register. In some cases, and we're starting to do this more, is sometimes a nonprofit might want like a teaser, or they might have like a specific thing that they need support on. In which case, if we have availability and if our coaches are available, we'll actually go and attend something that's already set up. Like there was one organization where they had like a week-long kind of conference that they were doing, and they wanted us to come in and for like one afternoon just do like a workshop on resumes. And so that's something that we're open to if we have the availability. In some cases, nonprofits want like a little bit of a teaser of our program, so we can do that for a few hours. And in some cases, and I think this is something that we can march towards, if there's nonprofits out there that want to partner a little bit more deeply, we could have an entire 6-week program dedicated for their constituents, because sometimes we'll actually start a boot camp and there's 6 people attending, and all 6 of them have been referred through one organization. So it almost feels like we've catered that boot camp for that one organization, and that's something we're also open to. A lot of it, a lot of it just depends on availability of the coaches. We got a few coaches that are really good, and we kind of want to respect their time and availability as well to be able to pull out.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing all that, because it's good to know. There may be some organizations that are working with maybe some very specific type of populations where some of the workforce development programs that are out there, they may feel like they want to work with somebody to customize that a little bit more. And if there's an opportunity to explore that pathway with Rise Up Project, that would be great. So here's a great opportunity to just remind everyone who's watching. The website is riseupliftup.com. That again is riseupliftup.com. And the email address that Sukh mentioned earlier is hello@riseupliftup.com. So again, any opportunities to maybe volunteer, please go to the website. Opportunities to just reach out to Sukh or one of his colleagues and talk a little bit more about what could partnership look like. We want to explore this a little bit more.
You're such a great host.
I just want to make sure you're a resource that's known. As is always our mission in Our Stories, Our Time, we have amazing organizations doing work that truly makes a difference for people. And, I just want to lift up too, Sukh, what you're talking about and what Rise Up Lift Up is about is this social capital, right? Because I think that everything that you're talking about, the story we're learning from you today, is how important networks are. And it's also something that, we promote in our leadership development is who's in your network. And you're absolutely right. What you said when we started this conversation today, when you don't have that, you're at an extreme disadvantage, right? Especially when things get tough and it's time to transition on to other opportunities. These are truly the times that you see, wow, I could have invested a little bit more in, just knowing more what's out there, who's out there doing what. But it sounds like Lift Up Project is a great way if you don't really quite have a network or you don't quite know how to get one started, but it's a wonderful way of learning all about the value of that and engagement.
100%. Yeah, we just to give a little reveal of something that comes up in our program. One time on that last class where it was a panel discussion, I was asked about networking. And people always think networking begins when you're looking for a job or you go attend an event and you're ready to hand out business cards. But networking actually begins right now in the moment that you're in, like the people that you're already interacting with. And so even the Rise Up Project, I tell the students is like, this is your network, like when you go out a year from now and you're hunting for another opportunity, you want to be reaching out to the same people that you're in class with right now. So it's always important to kind of like put your best foot forward, don't look at networking as something I need to do later when I need to find a job, or it'll something come later when I have business cards and I want to go hand out business cards, or I want to go shake some hands. It's happening right now. I know for my own career, the best kind of opportunities that I've had is because where I used to work, people enjoyed working with me and they thought I got stuff done. And I wasn't thinking I'm going to rely on these people later to find my next opportunity. But years later, these are the people that had my back, So it's always important to like always be networking, no matter what you're in or what situation you're in, always put your best foot forward.
So true. Such an investment in yourself and also an investment in community building, right? So important to understand that. And I think we really heard that loud and clear from you today. Sukh, time just flies by when you're having fun. Want to thank you again for being a part of today. I'm so glad we reconnected again. And I feel like our stories, our time gave us that opportunity to do so. So again, just want to encourage everyone who's watching, please reach out to Rise Up Project, hello@riseupliftup.com. If you're either looking to engage as potentially as a student, as a volunteer, or even, we have many funders and we have funders and nonprofits view our interviews once in a while as well. So totally encourage you to reach out. Sukh, thank you again. I look forward to running into you, and everyone, we'll see you next time.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.